Welcome to Capitol Preview, a weekly bipartisan discussion with Iowa legislators about the key issues facing our state. Brought to you by Mediacom.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Capitol Preview. My name is Bill Peard. I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa Cable and Telecommunications Association, along with our friends at Mediacom. Bring you this show to talk about issues important to Iowans and talk about the senators and the representatives and what they're up to up at the Capitol. Our guest today is Senator Zach Nunn, District 15. Zach has Altoona, Jasper County, East Polk County, Altoona, and Newton. Did I leave anything?
No. A lot of good communities in there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Zach.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
I should say Senator.
No, you're good.
Yeah, Senator Nunn.
Fine.
But we appreciate you coming because we know you're a busy man. We know this is funnle week, and so I'm sure you got 1,000 other things to do. But we appreciate you.
This is important. No, Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
So we'll just have kind of a conversation and kind of a back and forth type of deal. And if you think of anything that you want to interject or something you feel like you've missed, feel free to.
Thank you.
This year the legislature allocated about $90 million in money to schools. Their total in total education. Investment is at an all-time high. One component of the bill called SAVE. Could you explain? One element of that is SAVE. Could you explain that effort? Sorry.
Yeah.
But this font is small. And,
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah. By the end of this week with Funnel Week, we're all going to be at that point.
Right.
No, you raise a very good point here. I think both chambers identified school funding as a top priority this year. $90 million new dollars in school funding. Additionally, $3 billion that the state put forward. An additional almost $3 billion that property taxpayers have put forward means $7 billion going just through K through 12 and preschool. Very important. And we got it done in 30 days. So schools can plan their budget for the entire year. Very few other states do anything like that. Certainly no other part of the budget gets that. I think what's nice about SAVE, this is a bill that I've worked on with several legislators in both the House and the Senate. When I was in the House last year, we passed it forward. And that put in 2019 the ability for schools to fund three key areas: infrastructure, security, and technology. And that put $16 billion with a B going towards schools into their future. I think this is a really positive thing. The next part of this that we are moving forward in the Senate now is also a look at buying down property taxes, so that not only do schools do well, but anybody who lives in that school district also feels some of the value of this SAVE account. Now, I'll say specifically, when schools get more money and property taxes go down, that is just a really good recipe for Iowa. So we moved it from 2% in the Iowa House last year to now 12% of the money collected through SAVE would go directly back to a homeowner in that school district. So you can live there, you can be successful, but we're talking $120 million going towards property tax owners, and then that ultimately $16 billion going towards schools. And I'll tell you why I think this is important. One, the investment in technology in classrooms is so key. The idea of my kids included, putting on their backpack and taking just a catalog of books with them to school is changing dramatically. My sixth grader is taking her Chromebook to school. She does all of her homework on the Chromebook, and that's only going to continue to advance. And additionally, it's not just technology in the sense of smart devices, but it's learning technical skills with your hands. It used to be that you could graduate from high school or barely graduate from school and go on and get a job. When we look forward to 2020, 68% of kids graduating high school are going to need some kind of additional skills training when they leave. The best way we can set them up for success is getting them interested, getting them skilled, getting them literate on skills that they're going to be able to take with them when they leave. And that means making sure we've got career centers, making sure that we've got a woodworking shop, making sure we're setting them up for either going to maybe a 4-year school, a 2-year school, get a certificate, or join an apprenticeship program with our electricians, our carpenters, our steel fitters. And the final piece of this, which I think is really important, Bill, is that we work towards better safety in our schools. When I talk with parents, educators, and law enforcement, the biggest thing they want is an integrated plan to make sure kids are safe during that time that they're in the schoolhouse. This money puts direct investment into doing a couple of things. One, improving our response time for if an active shooter situation were to develop. integrated services for locks, for keys, for cameras, so that kids and faculty can feel safe when they're in school. And then 3, ensures that we've got a combined program so that when law enforcement responds, they've already worked with the educators in that classroom to be able to get there when they need to. So overall, I'm very confident that SAVE is going to pass both the Senate and the House this year, and that we can get it down to the governor. I think that's a good bipartisan bill we should all be looking to pass.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. You're a parent with the kid.
Yeah, exactly.
We just talked about that in the school in the area. What do you want your kids and every student across the state to get out of learning so they can be ready for the job market and for living in Iowa?
Yeah, so I think there's some really good things that we get out of both being at home with mom and dad, but also some really important things that are learned in the community. Key amongst this is career skills. So while mathematics, science, reading and writing are always core things we should be getting out of schools, we also want to make sure students are getting the ability to learn career skills that they're going to be able to transition to in life. So that means being digitally literate. We've got 90,000 different tech fields out there in Iowa today. Getting kids more familiar with technology in a purposeful way versus just a time on the PlayStation or gaming, hugely important. Another aspect of this I would offer is that with kids today, mine included, I'd like there to be some level of value and ethics when we go forward. And I think that that's a community-based focus. This happens from when you're at the grocery store with your kids. This happens from what government can do, what community can do, what your religious denomination can do, and certainly what the school can do. It's a candid conversation that means we do more than just get mad at each other on Facebook and tweet at each other or Instagram frustrations, but we actually have a good dialogue. And schools, both homeschool, private school, and public schools are great places for that dialogue to take place. My youngest son, Cannon, he gets every morning, they say, pledge allegiance to the flag, and then they also do a character pledge, that they're going to be nice to each other, they're going to have a conversation when they feel frustrated, they have a dialogue about how to make that better. And then finally, I'd offer that we got to have something that looks at life skills. This past legislative session, we passed a financial literacy class. You would be amazed, sometimes I'm guilty of this, of how many people not only don't balance their checkbook anymore, but don't go through any kind of learning to say, hey, how much do I need to save paycheck to paycheck to make sure that when my car doesn't start in the morning, I have somebody there that can come help me out, or jump my battery, or when the tire blows out, I've got enough money in the account. Far too many Iowans are living paycheck to paycheck, not because they're not working hard, because they've never had the opportunity to kind of plan for where they need to be in a financial crisis. Right now we've got the lowest unemployment in the country. That's a great thing. Let's help our students and our young people learn what to do when they get that first paycheck in a way that actually helps them out to be successful, not just for the next paycheck, but for generations to come.
That's good advice, Senator.
Something we can all learn from, right? I'm guilty as well.
No matter what age,
right?
you know, right?
Exactly.
You were recently rated as a top legislator for small business and entrepreneurship in Iowa. What efforts are you leading in the legislature this year to promote Main Street business in Iowa?
So I think one of the big things we talk about is making sure we have a workforce that's ready. When they leave high school or they go into that community college, that there's employers out there who want to hire them. It's a double-edged sword, if you will, on having the lowest unemployment. It also means it's very competitive to get good employees.
Right.
This is good. One, it drives up wages across the board. But two, small and medium businesses are hungry for a talented work pool. And that's where I think the state can be a partner with our private businesses to say, what is it you need in your workforce? What are you looking for to be able to drive, and how could we be helpful? One of the bills that we've led is this collaborative approach with our community colleges when it comes to things like cyber and technology. As opposed to just creating a standard cyber curriculum, we can reach out to private partners here in the community and say, what is it that that local doctor's office needs? If you're training to a specific software set, let's help get you there. We've got a bunch of data centers in Iowa. I'm happy about that, but what I'm also looking, yeah, exactly, particularly in your community. What I'm also looking for them is to help us be a tech innovator. Yeah. Iowa can be the Silicon Prairie. We have a massive fiber optic cable running through our state. How do we plug into that in a way that's meaningful, not just in broadband access, but where people have a skill set to be a net contributor to that? I think Iowa's ripe for this. I think the state's been a huge partner in helping build this infrastructure. Let's get the private sector involved with our education process to make that a longevity program that really helps the individuals who live here.
Well, we have the Chinese ambassador.
This is
with
right.
us,
This is right.
Today, so talk to him. You know?
I will. We also have the U.S. ambassador to China,
Yeah.
our former governor,
Right.
who I think has the opportunity to really help China understand where we could be as partners versus adversaries in this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Last year, you were pretty instrumental in disapproving the myth that the urban and natural communities and large communities, can't work together on natural resource policy. Do you see opportunities this year for them to work together?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because people say, hey, there's Republicans and there's Democrats. There's also this challenge in Iowa that we have rural and urban, and never the two should meet.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. One of the key areas where I think both sides have really come together is on conservation of lands. I'm from a generational family who have 6 generations farming the land here in Iowa. Nobody, whether you're urban or rural, wants to see our waterways polluted, our topsoil eroded, or the inability of our state to be successful, particularly in ag. So one of the areas that we moved forward last year, House File 512, looked at how do we do voluntary development for water and soil conservation in the state. We put $282 million, an unprecedented amount, towards these actions where we have farmers and cities working together to keep our waterways clean. This year I'd like to build on the success that we had. I'd really like to look at conservation as an economic opportunity for the state. Not only is it good for farmers, not only do we do what good farmers have been doing for generations of soil conservation, putting in buffer strips, preventing erosion, but we also look at ways where we could say, how do we get our urban families more involved? And one of these is through good sportsmanship, putting together wetlands that serve as buffers for runoff, holding the DNR accountable when they acquire new lands, that we have clear standards so farmers aren't having good land taken out of business, but at the same time that we don't have bad land that constantly has the inability to produce crop just sitting idle or becoming a dump zone for bad. And we do that by putting in things like marshes, where in addition to it being a beautiful place for waterfowl to come, makes a great place for a sportsman to be able to have a weekend. Makes a great place for children to go out there and actually experience wildlife in Iowa. I mean, I think you and I probably both remember running through fields and swimming in a creek or two when we were kids. I want my children to have that opportunity. So we've got bills coming forward this year that I think bring the urban and rural folks together on things like recreational trails, economic development for small towns. We've seen millions of dollars being put into communities in my area in Chautauqua Valley, out by Neil Smith in Jasper County. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that we could bring and grow here in Iowa, and that's an area where a small generational town has the ability to be just as successful as our urban big cities.
So does marsh clean that water?
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
That what it is, a filter?
And so, yeah, exactly. It serves as a filter for any type of runoff you have when you put fertilizer down. It also serves as a cleaning before it gets into the waterways, which end up in a big city. So Des Moines can have a far smaller footprint on the amount of water they have to clean if upstream we've got good marshes, good buffers, good activities that a lot of farmers are already doing that help filter that out before it even gets to the city cleaning process. And keeps your bills cheaper too as a mayor, right? Yeah.
We want that.
Yeah.
We're almost done here,
Yep.
Senator. Our time this morning. I know the Secretary of State is in town, and our ambassador to China. Are you going to see him?
Yeah.
while they're in town today?
Have a lot of respect for Secretary Pompeo, former CIA director. I'm an intelligence officer myself. A key aspect here is that now is the time to have a conversation with China that's meaningful. 20 years from now, China's economy will be twice the size of ours.
Yeah.
I'm a cyber guy. The intellectual property theft is in the trillions of dollars from the United States. If we don't have a candid conversation with our friends, the Chinese, now, we're going to have a hard time going forward. So I applaud the Secretary. I am grateful the Chinese ambassador's in town. Let's make this conversation start right here in Iowa.
How do you stop him, though?
Well, I think this is the time to have a candid conversation.
Right. Yeah.
If you want your economy to go forward, your number one trading partner is us.
Yeah.
This is a two-way street.
Yeah.
You don't get to define the terms. We've got to work on it together. And with the U.S. being strong on this from a leadership percentage from ag and advanced manufacturing, two of the strongest economies right here in Iowa, I think we have the ability to bring them to the table and have a more transparent conversation.
Okay. Well, thank you, Senator. Our guest today has been Senator Zach Nunn, Republican Senator from District 15. We appreciate your time and
Thanks,
your
Bill.
conversation today.
Always.
And Please tune in for another episode of Capital Preview.